Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to my Richard Laymon horror novel series. This is part 9 in my overview of all of his horror novels. And today I'm going to be talking about Flesh from 1987. There is the front cover, which is by Danny Flynn, who I've never heard of before. I think this is the only cover he ever did for Richard Laymon. Most of Laymon's stuff is done by Steve Crisp. But I wouldn't know that this wasn't by Steve Crisp because it's a very similar kind of style to what we usually get. We've got the house there in the background. Almost all of Laymon's books contain a shadowy house somewhere in it. And it's a really good cover art. I like it a lot. Spine, here is the back with a very short synopsis, and it says, Flesh. No one in town has ever seen anything like it before. A slimy, mobile tube of glistening yellow flesh with dull staring eyes and an obscene probing mouth. But the real horror is not what it looks like, or even what it does to you when it invades your flesh, but what it makes you do to others. Well, yeah, this was published in 1987, and in my opinion, this is Richard Laymon's first great horror book. And it began a classic run of novels, which is the basis of his reputation. After this, he would go on from 1987 to I think 1992, that 5 or 6 year period, he threw out classic after classic. This one, Funland, The Stake, One Rainy Night, Darkness Tell Us, Blood Games, even stuff like Resurrection Dreams and Midnight's Lair. Just such an amazing run that he went on following this book, and that is why he is in the pantheon of horror writers, in my opinion. That's why we can find him still to this day in bookshops alongside the likes of Stephen King. It's not because of his early work, and I don't think it's because of his late work. It's because of his late 80s to mid-90s output. Why do I think this is a great book? It's really well constructed. He handles the material very professionally here. This is, for him, quite a big leap in how well he controls his story. There is less of the sometimes, ridiculous scenes that he would throw in. The dialogue isn't so simplistic as usual or cliched as usual. And the story is excellent. It's so simple. As it says on the back there, it just concerns this odd, fleshy creature thing which gets inside people's bodies and it turns them into maniacs. It turns them into psychopathic murderers, cannibals, obviously because it's Richard Laymon rapists, and he really emphasizes the phallic qualities of this flesh thing, so he's probably throwing in some commentary there as well. But without that, I mean, subtext isn't at all an important part of Richard Laymon books. It's all about the surface level story, and it works really well here. The characters are good. The main character is a woman called Alison and a police officer called Jake, and that's another new thing for Laymon here. There's a bit of a police procedural feel to it, the way that they investigate what's going on and they connect the dots and try to figure out what this thing is and where it is right now and who it's inside. That was an excellent part of the story and something new for him. The bad guy is, as always with Laymon, very bad, and there is his name is Roland. Not spoiling anything, it's right at the start. And I like very much his escapades when it gets inside of him. This flesh thing seems to evolve a little bit during the course of the novel, because the first people it gets inside, it does just turn them into psychopaths. But when it gets inside Roland, it develops a type of intelligence and recognizes that in Roland it's found a vessel which it shouldn't seek to vacate so quickly. It should kind of not control, what's the word I'm looking for? Be a little bit more held back in what it makes him do. It's got a kind of a long-term plan here. So that was also very good. The atmosphere is great. The opening of this novel is very enjoyable. It's got a very short prologue when we are introduced to the insanity that this thing puts into people. But then we get off onto quite a lengthy section where this Flesh has got inside this couple who are in this kind of isolated house. And the way that the detective Jake was pursuing that is a very atmospheric opening, a very readable opening, and it sets up the novel very, very well. I can very, very highly recommend this book. In fact, if you're new to Laymon, I think in my video for the steak I had said that that would be a very good book to begin with, and that is true, but also so would this one be. Because if you don't like this book, if you don't like the style, then you're not going to like anything that he wrote. But if you do like it, then there's going to be a lot more from him to come in the following 5-6 years of his career that you'll also really love. So a very good beginning, a very absorbing and engaging middle, and a fantastic end. It's, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's a very well constructed book. It's 330 pages. It's not long. But it doesn't feel short. It does feel quite rich and detailed, and there's lots of scenes going on, and it just kind of describes constant action, which is a very difficult thing to do as a writer, is to just keep the reader turning pages and to always be describing action, and interesting action as well. There's far less of the cringe-worthy sex scenes in this that we got in his earlier work, in his first few novels. There is a lot of violence in this. There are some very gruesome scenes, but it doesn't feel, in a strange way, it doesn't feel gratuitous. I mean, this thing does make people actually do awful things, and he describes them, again, for him, quite well. He does good detail there. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say about this one. Richard Laymon, Flesh, 1987, one of his greatest books. And I don't know where it will fall at the end of these videos in my ranking series, but I'm fairly sure it's going to be quite high in it. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you did watch this far, I will be along soon with another Richard Laymon novel, number 10. Until then, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now, everybody.